Maybe you want to go first.
Usually in the abstract, we will put the thing I want to write in a paper. Keywords and what is addressed in the introduction.
So I think three things. Your objective, how you do it, the outcome.
It's like executive summary, something like that.
What?
Executive summary.
Yes.
You know, maybe
Yes, exactly. Very similar, exactly. So it is similar to the introduction because the introduction is also supposed to give a summary of what you're going to write, similar to the conclusion. But in the abstract, there are very specific items that you need to mention, just like in an executive summary. The structure of a journal article requires that you have the theory section, you have a section that talks about your methods, how you collected the data. It has your conclusion section that you draw. It has a discussion section. So it has all these required sections, and the abstract gives just like 1 or 2 sentences about each of those sections of the paper. Not required. For the PAs and CLAs, the abstract is not required. So you don't need it. Yeah.
So I think the easiest way to do to understand Google.
What?
The easiest way to understand the abstract, what abstract is the Google.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about it basically.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about it unless you're writing a journal article. But if you want to learn, if you're curious, the easiest way to do it is read some scientific papers. So some of the supplementary articles that we put in here are journal articles. Take a look at one of those and you'll see they've got an abstract and they follow this format that I mentioned for a scientific paper.
Excuse me, a journal article is something that published already?
Yes, yeah. A journal means a scientific magazine. So that's a journal. And it's usually peer reviewed, which means that other professionals in that field choose which articles to select and publish in their journal. Maybe they give feedback and say, we'll publish it if you change this section, which was not clear, and things like that. Right? And it's supposed to be a blind review, which means that they don't know who submitted the article, because you don't want to choose your friends or people that come from prestigious universities. Regardless of who wrote it, they should have an equal opportunity to be able to publish in that journal. So that's the requirement for the journal article, is that it's a double-blind, peer-reviewed article.
Yes.
It's an academic article. All right?
I have a concern here.
So, what?
We've been doing this some reports. We've been talking about 2 reports. In the first course, we read 1 report, maybe 2, and this one more. So yeah, we've been writing the report, but basically we have touched on ways to how to do it, to conclude, how to evaluate information.
On how to do the conclusion?
How to evaluate. For example, if we have this 425 questions, and they have to summarize and have to synthesize it, and then have to some kind of numbers also. Do we need to?
Which numbers? The numbers for the questions?
When she
Because
interview the answer, we have some numbers, and if she want to how to analyze the information.
It's personal view,
So,
right?
I think
Hang on, go ahead, finish your thought.
Because I've been reading read some articles in that they interview somebody and they have questions and then we use graph
Okay.
or pie chart
Right.
or some kind of numbers to.
Oh, you're talking about the data that you
Yes.
collect. Yes, absolutely. In that situation, it's because you give the questionnaire to many, many, many different people. And usually those kind of questionnaires are on what we call a Likert scale. And so the Likert scale is a Likert scale is usually on a scale of 1 to 5. Like when you do your feedbacking, the middle course and end of course feedback, all of the students get the same question. So this course was useful for my teaching profession. And you answer on a scale of 1 to 5 on agree to disagree, right? And in the middle is somewhat agree, neutral, somewhat disagree, right? So in order to use those graphs and those kinds of numbers, you need to collect data from many people. In this assignment, we're only asking you to interview one person. So you can't use quantitative measures to do that. This is a qualitative study. Qualitative means you want to just go into somebody's story. What do they think? What happened with them? Quantitative is statistical. We have many observations, and from those many observations, we can draw a conclusion. We see that 80% of the people learn better when they're in an acquisition environment, or whatever it is that we're studying. That's how science is conducted.
As you say, so if I go about and interview 3 people, that's fine.
It's not sufficient. There's very specific rules according to statistics as to how many people you need to answer each question in order to have a valid number of people to be able to draw a conclusion. So if you have, the rule of thumb is that you need 5 people per item, per question. So if we have 25 items, how many people do I need to?
125.
I need 125 people minimum to answer my questionnaire to be able to draw some kind of statistical inference from that data.
So what is what we just...
It's just one person, it's a case study. Case study is different. Case study means one person, and it's qualitative, not quantitative. Quantitative is relating to numbers and statistical inference, and qualitative is talking about the person's story and what they think and their opinions. We can still draw conclusions from those kinds of stories, but it's a different type of research. Great question. That's a whole other course. Yeah, a whole other course, right? On how to conduct research, how to do statistical analyses. It might be 3 courses actually, right? Because you have to do 1 course on statistics. Even like how to develop a questionnaire, there's a lot of science that goes into that. You have to be very careful about how you develop the items. Like you have to ask them in a certain way that makes it very clear. So they go through all of these preliminary procedures to make sure that the items are valid. Because sometimes we think it's a good question, but we can see from the results that apparently there's some problem in the way the question is worded, because we're getting really strange responses to it. So then we need to throw out those items. So we do a pilot study, and then we go back with a refined questionnaire and do it again. So, and then there's statistical procedures in terms of getting a random sample. I can't just ask everybody in this room because the answers will be kind of biased, right? Because you all come from the same kind of background. But if I ask people all over Vietnam, we'll get a more representative response of if we're investigating what Vietnamese think about a certain topic. Okay. So, do you guys want to give me some feedback? How did you enjoy the week? Was it good? Is there anything I can do to improve? Anything that you liked or disliked? I gave you feedback from your lessons. You can give me some too.
It was great.
You enjoyed it?
And this is how I give you the feedback. Everyone stand up. Everyone stand up and take pictures with her. And this is the appreciation flowers from us.
Oh, lovely. That's beautiful.
Everyone, please.
I intended to bring
Very.
You just insane.
And
See you all
Lovely.
Joe? Can you ask him to do?
cái này trước, cái quan trọng trước, cái chính trước.
Cái này
Đây đó,
cái con bấm này, con bấm
đúng rồi, bấm.
We can photo.
so tall.
The boys,
Doing their Ciancio.
the boys come up, the girls.
Teacher, come here, teacher.
You do first.
Wait, sorry.
All of us,
Together.
all of us.
Together. In unison.
I think teacher, sit here.
Sit there.
Yes.
That's not like
Flowers?
Yeah, she's a good designer.
Yeah.
Stand. We still stand here.
Teacher.
Nó nút tắt mà vô.
Ngoài cái tán tán em mà ra. Cái chân cô, cái chân cô. Cái máy xuống cái chân cô.
Miss Boone, come in. Mr. Bing, come in, please.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Thôi thầy con.
Cái này.
Còn phải hết đi.
Chú, 1, 2, 3 chú.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Nhúc cái máy của con đi chút. Trời ơi. Stand still, stand still.
We're gonna share, right?
Wait for me to check, please.
Được không chị?
Vậy là nhớ luôn nè.
Chú, hạ cái người chú xuống cái này chú chuẩn nó chậm quá.
Chúng chân nó dài.
Lên không?
Người chú xuống đấy.
Đây là good photograph. Chú về đứng thì chị hành chụp.
2, 3. Rồi cái này. 2, 3.
Cảm ơn
Điện
chú.
thoại chưa?
Từ nó rồi.
Rồi. Còn cái điện thoại còn sẽ tỉnh nặng cũ. Để đây chú share.
Chú ơi.
Để đây.
Chụp 18 lúc luôn chú.
Gonna share.
Đóng lúc 18 chú.
Rồi.
Thank you so much. So maybe you guys can find me on Facebook and we can keep in touch, right, even after you graduate. When I go to Taiwan next week, I'm going to see some former students.